Hey guys, it's Core Ross and World War 6 News. Today we are looking at the anti-cheat status update for May 2023. And we'll jump right into it with the BattlEye and data bans. So we've got a new graph here, and the orange is BattlEye bans, but the white is BattlEye plus data bans. So the white includes the orange part. There's also an asterisk down there saying revised compared to previously published data. Let's go take a look at the previously published graph. And this one here was released in March of 2023. Now, there's a huge difference in the numbers here, especially for January. February is almost the same, but January is entirely different. In the previous graph, it showed very little bans in January and that's spiking up in February. However, this new graph shows that actually it was a decrease from January to February, but also not much of a decrease. It was relatively flat. So the previous graph, it would appear, was just totally wrong when it came to those January numbers. So hopefully the new graph is actually accurate and not in like a couple of months' time shows us another graph with different numbers for like February and March. But anyway, back to breaking all of this down. So we've obviously got January and February with very similar numbers, a little bit of a decrease, but then quite a steep decrease going into March. So what I'd love to know from my PC viewers out there in the comments below is, a few months ago in March, did you see a decrease in cheaters or an increase? Because either the numbers here are showing that there's less cheaters overall, so that means less bans, or the cheaters are going more undetected, resulting in less bans, but that might mean there's actually more cheaters out there. So I'd love for you to cast your mind back to January, February and March and let me know if you noticed any significant difference in the number of cheaters you encountered. But anyway, let's move on and let's go for cheats addressed. So since our last update, we have worked to fortify our security behind the scenes, making cheat development more tedious. We have also fixed a number of cheats that were not player facing but affected game balance. Curious to exactly what the heck that means, because I could imagine that could be to do with like messing around with, say, the attachments to the guns, or even just making bullets themselves do more damage or things like that. But certainly they are extremely vague here on what exactly they were going with. Then they also tell us that MMR rollback has returned. So this was actually switched off for rank 2.0 and it is now being switched back on. I think it was a while ago that it was actually switched on, but they don't give a specific date here on exactly when they did that. And then Mousetrap. So this is the one I was very interested in seeing because I assumed we wouldn't get any data at all. Like they weren't going to release how many people they detected or anything like that. And that's exactly what's happened. They've given no data. I don't think they want to give the makers of the hardware even the slightest chance of figuring anything out. So they simply say that in point 2, which was the mid-season patch, they successfully released Mousetrap on consoles, and they say, we're extremely proud of this milestone. We know that closely and continuously monitoring this new system remains critical. And as we move forward, we are prepared to make any necessary adjustments to ensure that we maintain a robust, reliable, and fair detection and sanctioning system. This is a front we are committed to. So very vague all over right there. I would love to hear about phase 2. I'd love to hear them go after like the strike packs and stuff like that. I'd love to hear about them moving on, but I guess it only just came out. Like that was the mid-season patch. That was what, a month ago. So it's not been very long and I'll just have to sit back and wait for some updates to Mousetrap. I would love to hear some numbers on how many they've picked up, what ranks, all that, but I can understand again why they're going to keep all those numbers as secret as possible. And so far, it seems like Mousetrap has worked very well. I've had people obviously say in the comments that people have bypassed it. There was one guy on Twitter who linked some new hardware that said it bypassed it, but you can't buy that hardware, so it's not that you can test it. So it's very interesting to see, and it will be a back and forward cat and mouse game. But what I will say is I'm surprised. This is a million times better than I thought it was going to be. There's so much they could have messed up, and they seem to have pulled it off. And I don't care if it doesn't pick up everybody. Just the fact that it's somewhat working is freaking blowing my mind, because I thought it was impossible to even get to any kind of detection. So super happy and very nice to have them prove me wrong. And then the final bit of the blog is how can you help? So this is just kind of reporting cheaters on social media. So you have to give good, clear video evidence of someone using a cheat. You also have to give the username or the user ID. Even if privacy mode is on, you just give that nickname, that's perfectly fine. And then you give them the match ID, and apparently the time and date is also important as well. And they can look all that up on their side and look at the data, and then they can make the choice if they're going to ban that player for cheating. But anyway guys, that is the anti-cheat status update for May 2023. Nothing particularly interesting in here, even though we just have Mousetrap. There's not much to actually look at data-wise or anything like that. And obviously the data bans here, the previous graph was just wrong, big time. And this one shows a decrease. I would love to know from PC players if they've noticed a decrease in cheaters or if there's more cheaters. Because if there's more cheaters, that means they're bypassing detection. But if there's less, that means that more people are getting banned, which means it's being successful and people are going away and cheating somewhere else. But anyway guys, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.